Good evening, and welcome to Live in My Bathrobe. I'm winging it today. My camera's at a different angle because I was going to put it, there's some things there where I had to sit it on top of a box, and the camera would be shakier than it probably is going to be where it is right now. I got a tripod for it. Well, I had a tripod. Jeannie found the tripod. She searched for about 10 minutes and found the tripod. And the phone is on a mount that's on the tripod now. So hopefully the tripod makes it a little bit easier to see me and, you know, talk to me and that kind of thing. But it might be easier on the eyes than a pedal going up in front of your face every time you're looking. I know this is more of a type of video that you listen to than look at. Paco is a jagoff? What's Paco doing? Oh, Paco, that's right. He's the one that knocked off the tripod. He knocks everything off the floor. He knocked my helicopters. I got 2 remote control helicopters. He knocked those off the floor. He knocked them off the table onto the floor. And Paco, I don't know. Paco likes to knock everything down. I had a bunch of important papers on a little table behind me. He knocked all those down. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this today. I really don't. Because exertion makes the dizziness worse. Vertigo is a bitch. I have Zofran, which is the anti-nausea medication, so if I start feeling like I'm going to puke, I will take the Zofran so I don't puke my guts out like I did last time. Last time, it took 3 days before they actually gave me the Zofran. Maybe it was 2 days. I don't know. It was a nightmare. I slept a lot. And when I woke up, I went to the bathroom and I puked. I had to, you know, just the world was spinning, and I'd get in there, and I'd get done going to the bathroom, and then I'd go to wash my hands. I'd look up in the mirror. I know, I'm looking in the mirror, look at myself when I puke. But it was just my head tilting up. It made me nauseous. I ended up puking. I don't want to go through that again. I hope I don't go through that again. And I'm hoping that I get through this exercise without getting too dizzy, because I don't want to be dizzy. But I want to exercise. I want to get this weight off. A couple 100 pounds needs to go in the next 2 years, and I don't want to stop. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what I want to talk about today. I know I talked about Trump's IQ earlier and how he wanted to take an IQ test versus Rex Tillerson. Nothing is proved by IQ. It's like, okay, I'm a member of Mensa, okay? Do you know how many times I've brought that up as an argument point? 0. You know why? Because it's in the Mensa bylaws. You aren't supposed to bring up your IQ as an argument point. You know why? Being a member of Mensa doesn't make you right. You still got to back up your ideas with facts. So no matter what Trump's IQ happens to be, it doesn't matter. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that say, oh, Trump's IQ is so low and he's so stupid. Well, you know, I don't agree with all these people that said, oh, he's a businessman, he must be smart, he's a billionaire, he must be. I don't agree with all that. But at the same time, he's not intellectually disabled. He may have some kind of deteriorating brain disease, I don't know, but I'm not a doctor. But the whole thing is, I think when you narrow your worldview and you close your mind and you only focus on a narrow set of facts and your world is just this small thing that doesn't let in anything else, and your intellectual curiosity has gone out the window, I think you present as stupid. You present as intellectually deficient because you don't care about facts, you don't decide to pursue facts, you don't read books, you don't care about knowing things, and you end up going to news sources that tell you what you want to hear all the time. I don't do that. I know I appear as an extreme left-winger to some people. I know somebody called me alt-left one time. People don't know how I feel about economics. There's one thing I can't stand, it's Congress spending more money than we give them. We should have a balanced budget. We need to get there, and we need to stop spending more. We need to stop borrowing and spending more than we actually need. We actually give them. They should spend whatever the revenue is. The thing is, the Republicans started that deficit spending nonsense. And, you had Reagan, he got us $1 trillion in debt, and then Bush Sr., he got us more in debt. And then Clinton came in, and he worked with the Congress, and they ended up balancing the budget, and then there was a surplus. And it almost paid, the deficit was no more. The surplus was going to threaten to get us back on track and only spend what we make. And then Bush Jr. came in, and Bush Jr., W., got us trillions and trillions in debt with unfunded mandates and unfunded wars. And he kept having to borrow and borrow and borrow. And, yeah, exactly, Trevor. You know, if there's one thing about supporting our troops that I can get behind, it's not starting wars. You have a military for defense. You don't have a military to fight political offensive wars preemptively. And I don't know, Francine. I don't know. The whole NFL thing could be Steve Bannon, could be whatever. Trump's a racist, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that he came up with, because it seemed to backfire. I don't know. I don't have any Trump supporters on my feed, so I don't really get to see into their minds anymore. Well, that's not true. I have... People say you should have people with different mindsets on your friends list so you don't get trapped in a bubble. I don't have a bubble because I have coworkers, although my coworkers don't talk about politics that often, but I also go onto news sites. And the news sites have, and also politician sites like Governor Wolf's site and Bob Casey and Keith Rothfuss and Pat Toomey and different. I'm on their pages, so I get the conservative mindset because those people will comment no matter who the politician is, and they will comment no matter what the news story is, and I do get to see in their minds. So I'm not in a bubble, and I do interact with them there, and I also interact with friends of friends. So I'm really not in a bubble, but my timeline is my, for lack of a better term, safe space. You know, I do have some people who disagree with me from time to time, but they're civil about it, and I don't, you know, I don't live entirely in a bubble because I'm out on those other pages, but a lot of people that I know and a lot of people that I've seen are ticked off that they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for Pence to walk out on a football game. So I don't know if it's really gone the way that they want it to. I don't know, you know, but I have seen a few Trump supporters say, oh, what, Pence isn't allowed to exercise his freedom of speech, but the NFL players are? Well, it wasn't Pence exercising his freedom of speech. It was a planned political stunt to diminish the protest. We have the executive branch of the United States actively trying to suppress other people's freedom of speech and upstage them, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, I don't know, that whole NFL thing is it's racist. It's unconstitutional. I can make First and 14th Amendment cases against Trump. I'm not an attorney, though. I'm not a constitutional attorney. I don't know how it would hold up. And with the Congress that we have, I don't know if it would go anywhere. But on the bright side, he's picking on his allies. He's picking on Bob Corker, who helped him get elected. He's lying about his role in Bob Corker's race. Corker actually turned down his endorsement, and Trump claimed that his endorsement was coveted, and he wouldn't back him up, so he pulled out of the race. That's right, Francine. He planned on not being there. He had an appointment at 6:30 that he had to fly to get to. He was not planning on being in that ball game. Absolutely. Jason's saying that the PR stunt almost worked if it weren't for the fact that we saw through the bullshit. Well, if we hadn't seen his move as racist already, if we didn't know about the political theater, Trump gave it away, because Trump tweeted, and I posted that tweet, it's a real tweet, Trump tweeted that Pence was to walk out of the football game when those players kneeled. And then on his agenda, he had another appointment. He wasn't planning on being in the ball game at all. He was there just to walk out of the ball game. It's the only reason he was there. So, yeah, exactly. That was his next thing on the agenda, Francine. He went to California for a fundraiser. And so if he would have stayed at the ball game, he would have missed that fundraiser. And it's all to rally their base. It's all to rally their base. They know their base is racist. They know their base will get behind that. And they're cultists. They're basically cultists. And we have cult leaders in the White House right now. And the cultists will follow them no matter what they do. It's like Trump said. He could go out on the street and shoot somebody and he'd still have support. Because what else can he do? What other monstrous thing can he do to lose followers? I mean, in my mind, there are so many things that came out during the actual election that stopped me from even thinking about voting for him. I wouldn't vote for Republican anyway, but Trump, I mean, you'd have to you would have to present me with a Republican that isn't a religious zealot and is also not an Ayn Rand follower and actually has an even temperament when it comes to the temperament's the wrong word, but I'm dizzy, so it's actually making it hard to focus. But if you had a Republican, moderate Republican, which doesn't exist anymore, who actually gave a damn about the poor and would compromise the social safety net. Let me tell you something. I had a libertarian friend. You know how hard it is to get libertarians to get behind any social safety net or any kind of economic program for the poor. I have a libertarian friend. He's an attorney. Lives in Michigan. His name's Todd. Todd and I sat down to lunch. We were coworkers at the time. He just passed his bar. And we ended up talking about a social safety net. And I gave him the reasons why we have to have a social safety net. And he gave me arguments against it, and we compromised. We ended up compromising, and guess what? We had a social safety net we could both agree on. And the agreement was we need to invest in our future, and the goal is to get people off of welfare, but the way that it's been done in the past only messed people up. So we talked it through. We came up with a plan. I should have written it down. It was pretty good. But that's the art of compromise is lost. There's no compromise in Washington anymore. No compromise at all. But if you can sit down with reasonable people, with civil people, even if they totally disagree with your point of view, because let me tell you something, Todd and I never saw eye to eye on any political issue, but we could compromise. Because we were civil to each other, we could compromise. And so if you can get a libertarian to agree to a social safety net, oh man. But there's so many people, they're stubborn. I mean, you saw it with the Obama administration, and that was pure racism. Well, I don't know about pure racism. Most of it was racism. I think it was 98% racism and 2% I don't want a Democrat to succeed as president because that means that we'll get more Democrats in Congress and we'll lose our careers. Okay? But I think that the vast majority of it was I don't want a black man to succeed as president, and that's the total... That's what we had in Congress. We had Mitch McConnell and all these people, saying, I don't want Obama to succeed before he was even sworn in. So, there is so much racism. Everybody wanted to call him everything but the N-word. They were talking socialist, Marxist, Nazi, closet homosexual, closet Muslim, everything. As if being a Muslim is a disqualification for president. There is no religious test for office under the United States. You should be able to be an atheist, Muslim, Hindu, Shinto. It doesn't matter. You should be able to run for president no matter what your religion is or your lack thereof. A lot of people didn't want him to succeed. Yeah, and that's because he was black. I can't say every single person who opposed Obama was a racist because there are a lot of people out there they're Republican, he's Democrat, and they didn't want him to succeed in some of his plans. Because they had an economic objection or whatever. But I knew the difference. Here, let me tell you the difference. I had a friend of mine, a coworker of mine. He isn't in my group, but he's in another group, and I've known him for a long time. And this put me off of associating with him, really. He tells me one day, he says, Obama's stupid. He starts going, Obama's stupid and blah, 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 and Obama's stupid this, stupid that. And I said, no, Obama's not stupid. Obama's smarter than you. Obama got into Harvard, man. Could you get into Harvard with your SAT scores? I don't think so. And I said, even Obama's smarter than me. I don't know that for sure. I do know that he's a hell of a lot more successful. I could have gotten into Harvard. My SAT scores got me an Ivy League. But it ain't a competition. If it's a competition, I lost. Barack Obama became the president of the Harvard Law Review. That's not easy to do. And then he's telling me things like affirmative action got him there. I'm like, affirmative action don't get you your grades. Affirmative action doesn't get you the position of president of the Harvard Law Review. Affirmative action doesn't get you into Harvard. I mean, they may have their quotas or whatever, but he got in there. He graduated magna cum laude, man. Magna cum laude. That's the highest honor you can get. He graduated with the highest honors you can have, graduating from Harvard, from an Ivy League school. He's smarter than you, dude. He's smarter than me. And if he's not, if our IQs are identical, who cares? He's still a lot more successful, And I didn't even make that qualifier because I don't need that qualifier. I don't care. If he's smarter than me, great. I want my president to be smarter than me. There's so many people who are anti-intellectual. Barack Obama was smart. He inspired me. I worked on his campaign because the guy is intelligent. He wasn't perfect. He did a lot of things a lot of people didn't like. Like, for one thing, drone strikes that killed civilians, drone strikes that kill people without trial, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, okay, I have objections to that. Have I seen the Netflix movie about Obama? I may have, because I don't know. I saw a documentary about him. That was a positive thing, neutral pretty much, but it basically gave a biography of his life. I haven't seen the Netflix movie about Obama. I know there's a Dinesh D'Souza movie about him and about Clinton, and it's all lies. So which movie are you talking about? What's the title? I may have to check it out. I have Netflix. I have Netflix and Amazon, and I don't have Hulu. I have Xfinity On Demand. I have too much entertainment around here. I really do. I have cats. I'll have to take a look. I'll have to look for it. I like Barack Obama a lot. He wasn't perfect. No president is. I think he would have done a lot better if he had a Congress that was cooperative and a Congress that wasn't racist. Now what do we have? We have a racist administration. And Jeff Sessions, oh my gosh, Jeff Sessions was considered too racist in the frickin' 80s. In the frickin' 80s. 80s were not a politically correct time, people. In the 1980s, 80s were nothing compared to the 50s, probably, but the 80s were not a politically correct time. And Jeff Sessions was considered too racist to be a judge, because he was nominated for federal judge in the 1980s. And now he is in charge of civil rights enforcement and things like that are under the Office of Attorney General. Can we trust him to do that? Hell no. He's already been bigoted against LGBT. He says transgender people aren't protected, gay people aren't protected. This administration is, and it's not just him. Stephen Miller is a white nationalist. Steve Bannon was a white nationalist. He's gone now. He's not gone. He's not in his position anymore. But he's still getting on Fox News and defending the Trump administration. He's a mouthpiece for Trump. He is running the propaganda arm in the form of Breitbart again. Who was the other one? He ended up getting fired. It wasn't Comey. There was another one who was also a white nationalist that was in the Trump administration. So when DeVos is also a bigot. I don't know what her feelings are on race. I never dealt with that in Michigan, but I was in Michigan for 13 years. And during those 13 years, I was a board member in Michigan Atheist, and I was an activist. And I have friends on my friends list who, I have the state director right now. His life partner, Arlene, was the state director. She passed away. She's, I have to talk about her one time. I don't know if I can do it without grieving right in front of you, but there's a lot of people I miss that died from that organization. But DeVos's name came up over and over because DeVos kept pushing school vouchers, and DeVos kept pushing Bible curriculum, and DeVos is very anti-gay. So she has her own. The only person in the administration that I could point to who probably isn't bigoted is Mattis, and that's because in the military that stuff just isn't tolerated in a lot of positions. So I think Mattis might be the only one. The rest of Rex Tillerson, I haven't heard any racist things about Rex Tillerson, but I heard about his disdain for the poor. He was caught talking about poor people at a private party, and he was talking down about poor people. And this was this former CEO of ExxonMobil who made $32 billion a quarter because we subsidized with our tax dollars his business. We have no business subsidizing oil companies. That's bullshit. They were already profitable. We didn't need to subsidize them. We ended up subsidizing them. I don't know. I looked at his cabinet picks. He had a few of them before he was elected. And I'm like, this guy's a racist. This guy's a racist. This guy has a disdain for the poor. All this other stuff. This guy's a white nationalist. What's going on? And he has a thanks for joining, Ivan. You can catch the rest of it on YouTube if you like. I'm going to be putting it on YouTube later. I don't know if I'm going to go the whole 85 minutes today, but we'll see. I don't know. You see all this. He still has 32% support, 32% approval rating. It's 1 in 3 people in this country who approve of his job. It's not exactly 1 in 3. It's just under 1 in 3, but it's still close to 1/3 of the people who support the job he's doing. So 1 in 3 people. Imagine that in your life. Every 2 people in your life are fine, and then the other 1, you take 3 people, and one of them is a Trump supporter. And, I mean, maybe not an enthusiastic one, but 32% say they approve of the job he's doing. I mean, he was going to throw cans of chicken at people in Puerto Rico. After he threw those paper towels, that showed disdain enough. When I saw that, I was like, wow. Wow. That's just so rude and just so unbecoming of a president. And he was going to throw cans of chicken next into the crowd. He could have caused somebody to have a concussion. I mean, and people approve of this. People approve of his racism, and they do. Oh my gosh, they. I went on that. I posted about this Facebook page called Confederate Citizens. If you haven't checked it out, you really should check it out just to get into their mindset. Oh man, these people say at a moment's notice, if Trump gives them the word, they will go to war for him. And they really want to go to war. They really think, as a matter of fact, Antifa, whatever anti-fascists, Antifa. I call it Antifa. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, please correct me. But Antifa or Antifa ended up, these people actually believed that on Columbus Day, they were going to rise up and cause a civil war. They were going to actually start the Civil War. Didn't happen. Imagine that. These people live in constant fear. Excuse me. These people live in constant fear of people who don't agree with them rising up. And they're ready with their guns. They got to have their guns to protect them. I just, it's ridiculous, I mean, guns aren't inherently bad, but we live in a culture of violence, and until we get past that, I don't trust anybody with a gun anymore. I can't say I don't trust anybody with a gun. It's just, we may end up having one here. I mean, Jeannie owns 3 of them, but we may end up having one here for target shooting and hunting for our stepson. What for my stepson? It's not her stepson, it's her son. But we may end up having that. We have crossbows. But this whole mass shooting thing needs to be studied. I started a petition to have it studied, and there's resistance to that. If you look at, I have a page called It's Expensive to Be Poor. And I posted the petition on that page, and people are coming on there now and saying, I won't sign this because, this is more regulation, this is gun control. And I'm like, I didn't propose any gun control. All I want is a fact-finding mission to go look at these mass shootings and see if there's anything we have in common, anything that they have in common, or aspects of them that we can prevent. Can we prevent somebody from getting thousands and thousands of rounds of ammunition, or not even prevent them, but see if they're doing target shooting, or at least check them out if they buy thousands of rounds. Stop picking on the president. This is what Jason's writing. You haven't even given him a chance to do what we voted for him to do. He's doing a piss poor job even if I don't pick on him. Yes, you're right. He's doing a piss poor job even if you don't pick on him. And that give him a chance? How much of a chance do we want to... We don't want to give him a chance. We know what his policy positions are. We know he's a racist. We know he's a misogynist. We know that he said things about repealing marriage equality. We know he said things about putting women in jail for abortion. Now, his campaign walked that back, but he said it in a debate. He said he would like to see women who have an abortion do jail time. Wow. I mean, there's so many things about this president. We don't want to give him a chance because he's already doing things that mess up this country. He already put somebody in charge of the EPA who hates the EPA. He already put somebody in charge of education who hates the public education system and actively worked to destroy it in Michigan. She was a big promoter of charter schools in Michigan, and charter schools in Michigan were a big failure. And the reason they were a big failure is a lot of people thought, oh, I'm going to go into business as a school, and I'm going to teach them. They ended up having this character building program that was really religion in disguise. And the charter schools in Michigan were a big failure because their agenda was wrong. They weren't there to educate the kids. They were there to promote a conservative agenda. And Betsy DeVos was a big part of that. So, I don't know. Is this man Jesus? Who's Jesus? Who's Jesus? Oh man, Jesus. You know, I wasn't going to talk about this because I didn't have any subjects. I didn't have a topic, but now that you brought up Jesus, there's mythicists out there, people who think Jesus is a myth, Jesus was never a historical figure. I don't have any evidence that he was a historical figure, okay? And everything about him is more myth than man. I mean, healing the sick and multiplying loaves and fishes so it could feed thousands and all that kind of stuff, that all is the stuff of myth, right? But one of the things that bothers me, and this is a Josh McDowell thing. Somebody tried to get me to. Well, I did end up reading Josh McDowell's book in college. When I finally decided I was an atheist, and my Bible study people, because I did go to a Bible study for a few months. The Bible study people started trying to convert me back. They tried to get me back into the fold, you know, and they had me read Josh McDowell's book. So I read Josh McDowell's book, and his Evidence That Demands a Verdict book. His big thing is all these eyewitnesses who reported seeing Jesus. Okay? All these eyewitnesses who reported seeing Jesus, where are their stories? Where did they write this? Where did they write this down? And he said, "Oh, this is good. This is as good evidence as any courtroom would have." No, it isn't. Because in a courtroom, you can cross-examine witnesses. You actually get live witnesses to cross-examine. And you get to look into their credibility, and you get to look into their background. There are no eyewitness accounts. There's no contemporary accounts of Jesus. Everything was written after he allegedly died. Now, but Trump being a good president is a myth to me, so is Trump like Jesus? Well, Trump is a bad president. People who say he's a good president or say we're not giving him a chance to be a good president, well, that's just alternative facts. They're trying to have a separate reality from the rest of us. You know, and you can't have a separate reality from the rest of us. It's like creationists. They say the earth is 6,000 years old. That is just plain wrong. You can't have a separate set of facts from everybody else. There are seasonal deposits called varves that go down 6 million seasons. Okay, you can't get 6,000 years out of 6 million seasons. It's just ridiculous. Ice cores. Okay, you can get core samples of ice in Antarctica, and you can go back millions of years with that. You can go back. Well, I mean, I don't know if millions of years or hundreds of thousands. I want to get my facts straight here. I know that the varve deposit that I know is 6 million layers. I'm not sure how far back you can go with the ice samples, but it's definitely a lot farther than 6,000 years. you can take volcanic eruptions and they end up putting down layered deposits like Mount St. Helens and other volcanoes. And you can see where the forests were burned down and the ash covered everything. And then on top of that, there's another layer. On top of that, there's another layer. And you can go back 27,000 years easy, just counting the layers and not even taking into account how long it took for the forest to come back. So there's plenty of evidence, without getting into dating methods, that the Earth is way older than 6,000 years. And more importantly, how serious is the prospect of the VP Pence becoming, and how detrimental, this is small, would it be to not only domestically to the U.S. and, how detrimental would it be if Pence became president? Well, Pence is Dan Quayle. I don't know if you remember Dan Quayle, but Dan Quayle was also from Indiana, and he had pretty much the same positions as Pence. I think Pence might be slightly smarter, but Pence is bigoted. Pence is rabidly anti-gay, believes in gay conversion therapy, which has been demonstrated to be abusive, and he is very anti-abortion and anti-sex, anti-birth control. He would be very bad for women, very bad for gay people, very bad for the country. I think he would be more even-tempered when it came to war, but I don't know that for sure. I don't know his positions on war. I do know that when he was told that Trump said this or that during the campaign, he said, no, he didn't. He just denied that Trump said shit. Stuff that was recorded. The press recorded it. It was presented to Pence, and Pence said, no, he didn't say that. He didn't say that if you're famous, you're able to grab women by the pussy. He didn't say that. That's what Pence said. Pence claimed that. So Pence will turn a blind eye to all the atrocities the Republican Party will do. All the monstrous things. And I don't trust them to be president either. If I had my way, the whole administration would go the way of Nixon's administration. People would be thrown in prison. But they have to find that they did something wrong. See if Pence was complicit in the whole Russia thing. I hope Mueller has a really good case, and he has a lot of his administration and a lot of his staff, a lot of Trump's administration and staff in cahoots. Because if they're in cahoots, they're getting removed too. So maybe we won't have a President Pence, but maybe then we'll have a President Ryan. But I don't know. I've heard rumor that he's complicit too, that he knew about the Russia thing. So I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. And I do know there's going to be some instability. And I don't know how well organized it'll be, because look at it this way. The first thing Pence has to do is get everything organized and hire people for positions Trump hasn't hired for yet. Trump hasn't hired all the positions he's supposed to hire. He has a whole bunch of positions not filled yet. So Pence, that's the first thing Pence will have to do, and that's the kind of thing that you do in the first 100 days. And I don't know. I don't know what Pence's international stances are. I'll have to look at that. I'm hoping that he goes down with Trump. I'm hoping that he gets removed with Trump. Maybe the best bet is for 2018 for there to be a overturn to Congress, and maybe things will get better then. I don't know. Pence doesn't scare me as much as Trump. I know he scares a lot of people more than Trump does, but I don't know how much worse we could get. He is a misogynist. He is a bigot. He is a racist. Clearly, he walked out on that NFL game to try to upstage the protest against police brutality against black people. Yeah, that is a racist move. And if you think that Pence isn't racist for doing that, please re-examine the event. That is a racist thing for him to do. So, I don't know. I mean, he's scary, but in his own right, but Trump is definitely scarier. I think Pence could be controlled more. I think he could be handled more. So, we'll see. I mean, I don't think Pence will be any worse than Bush, and I was not a fan of Bush. Bush, I do not, you get these memes that say, miss him yet? No, I don't. No. He did like 2 good things his whole presidency. Exactly 2 that I can remember, and one of them was unfunded. The No Child Left Behind Act, there's some controversy. Some people will say it's good, some people will say it's bad, but a lot of Democrats liked it. Ted Kennedy signed it. He sponsored it. He's one of the co-sponsors of that bill in Congress. and lobbied for it. So No Child Left Behind, you can say it's good, say it's bad. I say it's bad because it's unfunded. It's an unfunded mandate. The other good thing that he did was what he did with AIDS in Africa, okay? Which you wouldn't expect from Bush because Bush was anti-gay. So, yeah, it's... Bush did a lot of horrible things, though. And not the least of which, he's a war criminal. He sent our young people, our soldiers, off to war of aggression for lies. He sent people to Iraq for lies. And I think if you want to support the troops, the best thing you can do is not elect somebody, not put somebody in office who will go to war preemptively against a country that did not attack us. So that whole thing was an agenda. That was Project for the New American Century. And if you don't know what that is, go to the Library of Congress site, because that website doesn't exist anymore. It went defunct in 2006 when the quote think unquote tank. I use think very loosely when I say think tank, but the think tank ended up going defunct in 2006. They took down their website, but the Library of Congress preserved it because it's part of history. And you need to read their positions, their policy positions, which some of the articles they took down and changed before the Library of Congress got a hold of it. But when I first read it, their whole thing was taking over the Middle East, starting with Iraq. They wanted to basically paralyze the oil supply or control the oil supply to Russia and China, so they would remain a power in the world. And what they ended up doing was destabilizing the Middle East. They ended up killing thousands and thousands of our soldiers, thousands and thousands of civilians, hundreds of thousands of civilians. They displaced about 1 million Iraqis. They killed thousands of Afghanis. They killed so many people. And many of our soldiers came home maimed. They came home with PTSD. They had to serve multiple tours of duty. That's not how you support the troops. And then he privatized the VA partially, and that privatization, that privatized part, treated the soldiers horribly, and the soldiers didn't get the care they needed. And so, that's not how you support the troops. I think, no matter what you think of the military, if someone serves for our country in the military and they go to war for our politicians, they should be taken care of when they come home. I don't care. They should be taken care of. Whatever it takes. Okay? Now, someone said the military budget went up $80 billion. I read that somewhere, too. And we could have shifted things around. $80 billion. We have programs right now where tanks, we build tanks that we don't need. We build jets that are trash. At least they're said to be. The F-35 is said to be not a really good aircraft. We're spending all this money on these things, and we could be taking care of our troops. Now, would I want a parliamentary system like in England? Now, you weren't here for the last video. What I want is something we're probably not going to get. Now, the parliamentary system, I know how the party system works there, and that might be okay. I would like to do away with political parties altogether, and this is how I would do it. I would make Congress, and this would take a constitutional amendment, it would take a big movement, and it would take a lot of support, and not a lot of people I know support it so far when I've talked about it. But I think Congress should be a little bit like jury duty. Not completely like jury duty, because I'm not sure everyone should be picked, but I think Congress should be more like jury duty. You won't have anybody buying politicians because you can't pay for someone's campaign. You have to do away with lobbying, because it'd probably be pretty easy to lobby people who are naive about the political process and things. But you get these people, you pick them from a pool, you end up having them go through a class on the Constitution and procedure and all that kind of stuff, and then they end up in Congress. They're Congress for the next couple of years, next 4 years, whatever. 2 years in the House, 4 years in the Senate, and they end up making the laws. They're the ones who end up doing the laws and approving presidential appointments, stuff like that. The president should be broken up into several different people. There should be several different offices in the executive and not have it run by one person. There's too much cult of personality there. And here's the other thing about the president. when you get people, if it's one person, okay, running for that office that does all these things, chief negotiator, head of the military, commander-in-chief, the head of the executive, head of all the intelligence committees, all these cabinet positions, when you have one person in charge of all that, and you have an election, however that person ends up, whatever person ends up winning, everything goes that person's way. People end up tending to vote for that party's side in that election, whether that's because voter turnout of that party or what. And there were a lot of people who stayed home because they didn't like Hillary Clinton. And I don't want to talk about, she won the popular vote and all kinds of... No, a lot of people stayed home. 46.9% of people stayed home. And there were a good number of them who said we didn't like either candidate. But 53% of them, I think it was 53%, were left-leaning. And if they would have come out to vote, if they'd have been reached, they'd come out to vote, then Clinton probably would have won the electoral vote. But the problem is they stayed home because they didn't like the presidential candidate, and there were all these Congress positions and issues on ballots in states that they didn't end up voting for. So the country ended up swinging right-wing because those people stayed home and didn't vote for other offices and didn't vote for issues and didn't vote for their local offices. That's one of the problems with having one person go for that office. I think the president should be split up. I think the executive should be split up into several people. Now, that brings us to the whole Supreme Court nomination process. I think that could be done by committee. I think that could be done by the executive branch still. It's just they all get together and they pick somebody. It's not one person's nomination. So I think it'll be more even-handed that way. I think it'll give a lot of women in politics a lot more opportunity. I think it would be a good way to go. And I don't agree with a party system, because when one party takes power, which is harder to do in a parliamentary system like England, but if you have one party take power, then that party ends up getting to make everything easier for them, all the way down the chain, all the way down to the local level. So, I don't know. It would take a lot of campaigning and support, and it would take a lot of work, and I don't know how many people will agree with me. But how do you educate people on how serious their vote is? Well, that's one priority that I would like to have. I'm going to run for Congress. I'm going to run for at least House of Representatives in 2020. One of the things I'm going to run on is the wealth that we have that is knowledge. Knowledge is our biggest source of wealth, okay? And to have knowledge, we have to educate people. And I think education... I was in an IEP meeting at my stepson's high school. And in that IEP meeting, the counselor said, I think everybody should have an IEP. Everybody should have an individually tailored plan. I agree with that. I think we should assess each student, see what their needs are, and I think their goals should be tailored to that. That's what an IEP is. You meet certain goals, and you see where someone is, and you see how far you can take them. And I think we need to invest in our education system in that way. I think it should be all about making the goals tailored to the students. And I think we need to have civics classes. We need to teach people how their government works, how taxes work, how every level of government is important. Teach them history and teach them everything about history. I didn't learn about the bloody history. I learned a little bit in high school. Most of what I learned about the bloody history of the United States, I read on my own. I got it out of the library. I didn't learn it in school. I learned lies in school. Everybody does. History's so whitewashed. I didn't learn about, all the slaughter, all the genocide of Native Americans. I'll tell you what, in college, I learned that the Puritans were assholes. I read their own, their own writings gave away what they did. I mean, one of the things they did was they had wooden forts eventually, and the natives, the indigenous people there, started building wooden forts to keep them out because, the Puritans were killing natives. And they built a wooden fort, and the Puritans decided, hey, let's go burn down this fort and sit outside of it with our guns, and as people run out, we're going to shoot them. Men, women, children, shoot them. So, if you didn't go outside and try to run for your life, you burned to death, and if you ran for your life, you probably were going to get shot. So, yeah, that's what the Puritans were. The Puritans put sparrows on trial for defending their nests from hawks. The Puritans believed in the great chain of being, and they believed that everything had its place, and if it went out of the place that they believed it should have been, then, you know, women. If women were out of their place, executed. You know, witches. It wasn't just women. Men died in the Salem witch trials, and I'm not just talking about the Salem witch trials, but women were ostracized. Women who committed adultery had that scarlet A on them, but the guys, they got away with it completely. Why'd they get away with it? Because guys can't get pregnant. Women can, so easy to tell, you know. So, you got some Russian mates, they can help me get there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to campaign hard, and I'd like to get a lot of local people. Russians, oh boy. I don't know. I just don't think the Russians had as... I think the Russians had an impact. I'm not going to deny that. And in a close election, it was not negligible because it was a close election. The last election shouldn't even been close. There's no way. I mean, I even saw today, one of my friends posted this, and if he sees this video, he'll know who he is. One of my friends posted this thing, how Democrats see Trump, how Republicans see Trump, how I see Trump, and how he saw Trump was Hillary Clinton's face. And then it did the same thing with Hillary Clinton, and at the end it was Trump's face for Hillary Clinton. I don't know how naive and how blind you can be at this point to think that Hillary Clinton would be as bad or worse than Donald Trump. In what universe is that possible? I'm not going to deny that there was some corruption there, and I'm not going to deny that the DNC did some nasty stuff, and I'm not going to deny all the, some of the baggage that Clinton has is not real. The whole murder conspiracy and all that kind of stuff, people calling her Killary because she allegedly had these people murdered and those people murdered, all that came from InfoWars, and it came from InfoWars 20 years ago, and it's still going, and it's all bullshit. There is some actual baggage that Hillary Clinton has, but there's no way that she would be a daily embarrassment like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a daily fucking embarrassment and a monster. Okay? There is no way Hillary Clinton would be as bad. And if you think that Hillary Clinton would be as bad or worse, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do to help you. Because as little as I wanted to vote for her, because I am no cheerleader of Clinton. If you've read my timeline at all during the election, I did not support her. I wanted Bernie Sanders. And I had a lot of criticism for Clinton, and it was a real criticism. I didn't pass the right-wing lies along. I didn't like her vote for the war in Iraq. I didn't like how she came over to support LGBT community until 2013. I didn't like a lot. There were a lot of things that I didn't like about her, okay? And there were some things, and I was fair about it. I said I looked at her voting record. She was good on the... She was good on the environment. She was good. She didn't vote for the Defense of Marriage Act, which I would have expected her to do because she said in a faith conference that marriage is between one man and one woman. So I would have expected her to vote for DOMA. She didn't vote for DOMA. Okay, she voted against it. Her voting record in Congress, when she was in Congress, other than that war in Iraq and a couple things on pharmaceutical companies who gave her money for her campaign, a lot of her voting record was pretty good. And it wasn't progressive, but it was, it was a little left of moderate. Now, one really good thing that she did is she got the CHIP program going, and that's children's health insurance. Okay? And that's children's health insurance for poor people and disabled people. And CHIP is how my daughter gets services for her autism. Okay? And intellectual disability services, and she gets therapy through that, right? And children's health insurance helps poor kids get cancer treatment and things like that. And of course, Congress just let that expire. Hopefully they'll reinstate it. But Hillary Clinton was a big lobbyist for that. And she did some bad stuff too. But I was trying to be fair, and I would bring up both sides of that. I held my nose and voted for her, but I didn't feel bad about it because Trump was a fucking monster, and Trump is a monster, and I predicted everything that happened with him. He was preaching hate, and people were coming to me at work. They were coming to me at work because they knew I was political, but I I don't know how they knew. Some of the people that came to me, I never talked to them about politics, okay? And I don't spend time at work preaching to people about my politics. But people were coming to me and say, I don't know who to vote for, man. I don't know who to vote for. Who do I vote for? And I said, all right, let's make it easy for you. And I thought this was making it easy for people. Trump preaches hate and emboldens the hateful. He preaches hate. He wants a war. He wants a wall on the Mexican border. He tells us we don't know who those people are when it came to Syrian refugees. I saw all of his racism in his rallies and in his campaign speeches and in the debates. I saw his misogyny. I said he's a wife beater. He sexually assaulted his first wife, ripped her hair out, then sexually assaulted her, raped her. He said to a 10-year-old, I'll be dating you in 10 years. What kind of creep says that shit to a 10-year-old? He allegedly walked in on beauty pageant contestants, Teen USA beauty contestants, underage girls. He walked in on their dressing rooms, allegedly. I don't know how true that is. I don't know, but then he talked about moving in on a married woman like a bitch and said, if you're famous, they'll let you get away with anything. They'll let you grab them by the pussy. He talked about sexual assault and then blew it off as locker room talk. This guy was a monster, a misogynist, racist, xenophobe, a warmonger. He was bad for everybody, and people still had to make up their minds between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Say what you want about Hillary Clinton. The one thing that you can say that she did that was... I don't think she intended it to be racist. I don't know. But the one thing that she did that she should have definitely take race into account was lobbying for stiffer sentences for drug laws, I think it was. The 3 strikes deal. I think that's what she was lobbying for. I can't remember. That's something in the 90s she lobbied for. And ended up putting a lot of people of color in prison because we have racial inequality in the justice system. So you have to bear that in mind whenever you want to give stiffer sentences for drugs or anything else, because white people do drugs at the same rate that black people do, and same rate as Hispanic, and same rate as everybody else, but white people get imprisoned a whole lot less, and their sentences are a lot shorter if they get any at all. So you have to bear that in mind whenever you make a move like that. And I don't know that it was a conscious decision, but that was one thing that bothered me about Hillary Clinton too. But say what you want, she wasn't preaching the hate, okay? She was not preaching the hate, and she would have been definitely good for children's health insurance, and we wouldn't be talking about repealing the Affordable Care Act, and maybe I should have done a better job of convincing people. I couldn't have done it alone, but maybe I should have done a better job of convincing people. So with what I've seen on the media, is it safe to assume he has a possible cognitive disorder, such as onset of memory loss followed by dementia? I don't know. I don't know that. I'm not a doctor. I would say that it's possible. If you start seeing Melania more than you start seeing Trump, or you see one of his advisors more than Trump, or you see Pence more, if you see somebody more than Trump, and we don't see Trump for a while, just assume he's gone the way of Reagan, because that's what happened with Reagan. We stopped seeing him in public, and he turned out he had Alzheimer's for like the last couple of years of his presidency. Now, that's possible. I don't know. I do know that Trump is delusional in a clinical sense of the term. He believes stuff in spite of evidence. He believes that global warming is a hoax. He believes InfoWars. He is a big anti-vaxxer. We have a president. Oh yeah, Ronald Reagan had Alzheimer's last couple of years of his presidency. I think it was he had the onset of it a couple years in. But Donald Trump is delusional, and what I mean by that, he's an anti-vaxxer. He believes vaccines cause autism, and he thinks vaccines should be spread out. He doesn't necessarily believe that no vaccine should happen. He isn't going as far as vactruth.com, which tells us that vaccines contain aborted fetus parts, and that they cause cancer, and they cause fainting in the doctor's office, and sickness and death. He doesn't go that far, but he does say they cause autism and that they should be spread out. But he's wrong. he's wrong, and he's been told he's wrong, and there's plenty of studies out there that tell us that there's no link between autism and vaccines, and he still goes that route. He still tells us that vaccines cause autism. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he has a cognitive disorder. I don't know if he has the onset of dementia. If he starts repeating himself, like, immediately after he says things, then you'll know. I don't know. I just think he's a narcissist, and he's a hateful person, and he's a monster. And I think that I'm going to go as far as to say Hitler's his hero. Oh, really? I didn't know that his father had dementia.
There's a 5-second delay.
It's possible that he can go that route. I don't know. I mean, he's up there in years. If it happens, we're going to see it in front of our eyes. What I do know about him is he's a terrible president, and he needs to be removed from office. His whole administration needs removed from office. So, I don't know. I'm getting really hot and dizzier, so I'm going to stop now. And I just subbed on YouTube while still watching this live stream, Jedi Fingerwave. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. I hope other people subscribe to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is live in my bathrobe. I'm not always in my bathrobe. I'm going to have to get more bathrobes to do that, because sometimes my bathroom needs washed. I put it on, to exercise, and I put it on. I don't really get sweaty with this, but thank you, Francine. I appreciate it. Yeah, hop on YouTube, live in my bathrobe, and if you can like my videos, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for chatting with me. It really helps these things go faster. I'm feeling like a drunk person right now. I'm sorry. If I sounded a little bit rambling, or I didn't sound as lucid as I normally do, it was a little hard to focus. And so, Jason, I'm going to start titling my videos so they are clickbait. I'm going to say 5 horrifying reasons why Trump is a monster, or something like that. And there's something out there that says you get more hits that way. I know crack.com does that stuff. But thanks, everybody. I appreciate you. Have a good night. I might be back tonight. I don't know. Have a good one.